Hey, this is Anthony RevZilla. You watch, decide, and ride. Welcome to our detailed breakdown of the new SIDI Crossfire 3 SRS boot available at RevZilla.com. This is the new Crossfire 3, the third generation from SIDI, which in my estimation, it continues to be an Abrams tank for your feet. If we look at it, it is non-Gore-Tex, it is non-waterproof, it also has light ventilation, but it's truly that four-season hardcore new school off-road style boot. We see these make their way around the globe from our customer base, and ultimately when we think about it, the beauty of this boot is it's an heirloom product. Before I even get into the changes, if you're evaluating this, you're thinking bomb-proof, hardcore, off-road, but replaceability. Just about everything's bolt-on on this boot, which means that over time this chassis can be replaced, can be tuned, can be tweaked, and ultimately will give you the ability to invest in it once, yes, at the $600 mark, but then be able to work and maintain it so that you don't have to get a new one in a couple years. Everything can be refined and replaced just about, except for the few things I'm going to call out as we work our way through. Now, if we look at the previous version, this is the Crossfire 2, this is the Crossfire 3. At first glance, you're going to say, wow, it's very similar. It is very similar. It's nuances and functionality that have been changed. If we look at it, they've redone your toe cap from a interface with your shifter. So again, that's going to be changed, again, just giving you a little bit more tactile response. If we turn it towards the inside, two major changes working our way to the inside of the boot. This is, remember, the old one on my left in black and white, new one still comes in 5 colors. Notice your kick shift panel here. On the previous version, everything was a little lower profile around it. So you get a point of feedback from your bike right here, but you're not going to feel it around the rest of the boot. What they've done on the new version is they've raised the TPU. So you see the TPU creates, it's still a replaceable kick shift panel, but again, you have a raised area where it's a similar level, so now you get one big area of interface flat against your bike or against your fairing, especially when you're standing on the foot pegs. This mattered to have that secure meeting or marrying of your boot to bike. The other thing they've changed here, and you're going to notice here on the medial side malleolus protector, is on the previous version, it was just a replaceable protector. On the new version, you have this screw down here that with stops. And what those stops do is they aid in a stopping point for hyperextension and hyperflexion to make sure that if you really get yourself into a jam or you're really imparting a lot of force to this boot, it's not going to allow your ankle to go past a certain point of flexion or extension, again, giving you the ability to have that stop to protect you even further. The last major change of this boot, and again, it went up about 2 ounces, so 2 pounds heavier, but I'm telling you, you're not buying this because you want a lightweight boot. There are plenty of other off-road boots in the market that are lighter than this. This thing is a tank. I'm going to flip them both on their sides, and you're going to see the bottoms. Previous boot, 17. Half-turn screws, and their theory was we have 17 bolts on a fully replaceable sole, and in case you lose one, the rest of your sole is going to stay intact. What SIDI found over time is you need 4 bolts. Because ultimately, you're not really losing these, even beating on these boots that often, they're not coming unscrewed and falling out. So what they've done is they've just simplified things. You have 4 bolts. Now, while it's on its side here, I'm going to call out my only real gripe with this boot is on the previous version, your toe and your heel were fully replaceable as well. On the new version, your toe and your heel are fixed. So again, it'll be interesting as folks start to really beat through these, what SIDI has to say about potentially replacing or refinishing these, but ultimately the center point or really the instep of the sole of this boot are fully replaceable, whereas your toe and your heel are not on this latest iteration. That is really your key changes. We step up $50 in price. I'm going to say goodbye now to our Crossfire 2 now that you understand where the differences come in. But when we look at this tank of a boot, which is absolutely massive, let's work our way through it front to back. Now, the first thing I'm going to start with is going to be fitment and really how it sets out. We consider the SIDI Crossfire 3 SRS to be an American Cup boot. You're not going to run out of width. It's an Italian manufacturer, again, out of northern Italy, but they're great at designing boots that are going to mesh well with the American footbed. Again, a little bit of a wider boot. We're not calling it super wide, but again, that SIDI width is going to work fine. Again, from an instep standpoint, there's nothing overly pronounced here. Remember, no inner booty design. There's no inner adjustability. You just have the void, you have the boot, and you're going to ratchet everything down. We think about the rest of the fit scheme, remember, and I'll get to these in a second, but they're self-adjusting cam lock style buckles. And again, you have the ability to fine-tune all this TPU that comes across the shin and locks everything down. The other nice part too, notice how nice and high this is, nearly up to the knee. You have 2 points of adjustability for calf circumference. So when you have your inner liner, again, that's going to be that full cambrel liner, what you do is you have the ability to tighten everything up around the calf or all the way up, getting closer to your shin or at the top end of your calf. Again, just making sure everything fits, everything's where it's supposed to be, and you're getting that refined fit scheme. So again, use the size charts, no surprises there. We don't think that the fit scheme has really changed between the SIDI Crossfire 2 and Crossfire 3, but the nice part about it is you are investing absolutely in the adjustability of this boot. Now, I'd also love it if you click our logo, subscribe to us at RevZilla on our YouTube channel, leave me your comments, your questions, your feedback on the new Crossfire 3. Now, diving into it, we talked briefly about the sole. One last thing about this sole. Remember, I haven't gotten any word yet on the new SIDI Crossfire 3 AT, which would be the all-terrain and stitch sole, but on the previous version, we did have an AT model. We hope to see SIDI release that potentially sometime in the future. When we look at this sole though, remember one of the things that SIDI does that we really dig as well is that they do a fully supported shank throughout the whole sole, whereas some other manufacturers are going to give you that steel shank right in the middle and it stops. This is a composite shank that really runs the entire length of the footbed, again supporting your foot throughout. And we already talked about the pros and cons of the new design where the toe is non-replaceable and the interior here on the middle of the foot is going to be replaceable, again where you can just tune these parts and replace them over time to make sure that, again, you can continue to ride this boot without having to fully replace it. Now, if we work our way back up, remember it's microfiber. That's going to be synthetic leather for consistency and strength. It's also lightweight. And notice that all of the TPU on this boot, which are going to be dually recessed stitched, massive bomb-proof exoskeleton for your foot. So you have your leather, you have your TPU over top of it. You see it in the toe, works its way to the medial side, works its way back. On the outside or lateral side here, along the malleolus, you still have those starts and stops. And notice too, different durometers of material depending on where they might come in contact with the bike or with the ground. The other nice part about the way this TPU is worked in, notice this raised area right here, almost this little wedge or ramp. That's done so that if you happen to go down, what's going to happen is when the boot makes contact with the ground, you have a better chance of keeping that buckle locked in versus shearing it off or having it open on you unsuspectedly or unexpectedly. And if we look at it again, alloy style buckle, notice it's a T-bar approach to these camlock style buckles. They snap in, they're adjustable. Again, fine-tuning the instep and then all the way up. As you work your way around the boot, nice big heel counter, again, reinforcement along the back, along the Achilles, and you see some of the venting working its way in. Again, all of this hard TPU creating that great exoskeleton, again, along the backside of your calf and your Achilles. Now, working your way into the middle, notice all of this is constructed with bolts, not with stitching. So if you happen to destroy this piece or puncture it, or I hope your leg is fine after that, you'll have the ability to replace this part from SIDI on your Crossfire 3s, really get the new panel, bolt it right in, and again, tune this boot, repair this boot, and you'll be good to go. And again, these are just basic screws with a screwdriver. It's not rocket science to pull these parts off and replace them. We talked about the inside here. We talked about the raised area in the middle, the replaceable kick panel, and then again, dual recess stitching. You're getting that double up on the stitching, and they recess it so that when you start to really shred or shear on these boots, it's not going to pick away those stitches over time. Those stitches are seated in and sink down below the line of the TPU. And again, on the insteps of these or the insides and the medial side, you really start to see a lot of bolts working their way in with different panels versus stitching. And the stitch elements are harder to replace over the time. Now, I'm going to open up my camlock buckles one more time. Newly redesigned foil areas here for venting, but again, remember, non-Gore-Tex, non-waterproof. Again, if you step in the pond with these guys, you're going to get water in the boots. And again, it's not fully designed to be the most vented boot on the market. It's really meant to be the most protective boot on the market. If we open it up, my two calf adjuster panels here, my synthetic suede. Notice there is a gaiter for water resistance that comes all the way up, but it's not a full waterproof rating. And then on the inside, notice you're going to be working hard in these. You're going to be sweating a ton. This is your interior Cambrel style liner. It is an upgrade. It is meant to be moisture wicking, sweat reducing, but also air circulating. So again, the goal of these is to pull the sweat off of your leg, off of your foot, allow it to evaporate out through the liner, out through your synthetic leather, and really facilitate that. You'll also see at the top here that they give you that elasticated panel, something SIDI's been doing on boots this high that again aid different size circumferences of calves. You have that adjustability or that lock-in moment where again, it's going to create a nice tight seal against your leg. So all in, like I said, M1 Abrams tank. It'll be interesting to see if they come out with the AT all-terrain version of this boot. This is the SRS system, which is a little bit more of a new school approach to the sole construction. I think of new MX again as it again, designs it with more of this more space-age material and space-age feel, but we know there's a hardcore riding contingent out there that loves that traditional stitch-style, Goodyear-style AT sole. And again, we'll have to see that on the market. Remember, 5 colors available. It's gone up 2 ounces. They've changed a handful of things. The only thing we really didn't like is the non-replaceability of the toe and the heel, but we'll see how they handle that moving forward. But we do know that SIDI is a progressive boot manufacturer. The next step in your journey is to click the info button, your desktop, your mobile device. Visit the product detail page at RevZilla.com. Read other rider reviews. You shouldn't just take my word for it on the new Crossfire 3. As always, we'll ship free over 39 bucks. If you want to talk to a gear geek, see us at RevZilla.com or 877-792-9455. Thanks for watching our detailed breakdown. Remember, subscribe to us at RevZilla on our YouTube channel. Stay up to date with our opinion of the latest and greatest in the moto universe. I'm Anthony. We'll see you next time.